Welcome back to WTFtober, and now that we have a better understanding of what Popee the Performer is all about, it's time for me to highlight 10 of the episodes I found to be the most bizarre, which given this series is quite the challenge. With the chaos that ensues in many of these shorts, but I managed to narrow it all down somehow, and with that, let's start off this list. Number 10. Starting off, we have the last episode of Popee the Performer, being Face, which addresses one of the biggest mysteries of this series, being what's exactly behind Kedamono's mask. And well, it must be something pretty crazy, as after the frog catches a glimpse of it, we have the first and last piece of dialogue we ever get from this series. While the frog tries telling everyone what Kedamono's face truly looks like, Kedamono gets super freaked out and then eats the frog, only for the frog to pop out of his ass and say that Kedamono's true face looks like his mother's. What? With that reveal, Kedamono then breaks down, with the others just staring at him with disappointment, leaving just Popee, who eventually breaks down alongside Kedamono. While the content of this episode is nowhere near as over the top and surreal as some of the episodes that come, but considering we got dialogue from this episode, as well as the simple fact that this is how the series wraps up, I think it deserves its spot on the list. Number 9. Coming in number 9, we have the episode Super Strength, or as I like to call it, Do You Even Lift Bro? An episode so over the top, it may put Dragon Ball Z to shame. When Popee gets jealous of Pappy's strength, he decides to take some steroids, giving him the strength he needs to outlive Pappy, or so he thinks. The two have a battle to see who can lift the most, however Popee then cheats and gets Pappy stuck in the ground. While Popee thinks he's won, Pappy then lifts himself to the moon and then sends it down flying to the earth, killing not just Popee, but everyone. What the fuck? Number 8. At number 8, we have the episode Poison. This episode starts off with Kedamono showing Popee and Pappy his new tricks, which makes Popee very jealous, so he decides to throw a scorpion at him, which poisons him. Damn Popee, why do you gotta be such an asshole? While he's laughing at poor Kedamono's pain, the scorpion he threw then stings him. Pappy decides to help the two by sucking out the poison via mouth to mouth. However, Popee doesn't want Pappy's lips anywhere near him. And now I'm starting to wonder if this is the episode that started all the yaoi fan art between the two. Anyways, Popee is super serious about not letting Pappy anywhere near him, going as far as to shoot guns and even throw knives at him, all of which he stylishly avoids. No matter Poppee's efforts, Pappy still sucks the poison out of his lips, pissing off Popee, who then kicks Pappy just before he's able to spit out the poison. With neither Kedamono or Popee wanting to return the favor to Pappy, he, dies and the two give him a funeral. But nothing is ever that simple with Pappy, or, this series in general, as Pappy rises from the grave and gives back the poison to Popee, showing that karma can be one real bitch. Number 7. In this episode, Popee sees that Kedamono is quite skilled in knife throwing. Not wanting to be inferior, Popee then tries it out, though he's definitely nowhere near as good. So he then decides to take Kedamono against his will for practice and winds up killing him. Feeling only frustrated that he lost someone to practice on, he decides to summon the ghost of Kedamono with a piece of chicken and uses the ghost as practice. And the rest of the episode is pretty much Popee killing Kedamono and reviving him just to kill him again through practice until he eventually kills himself. This episode being a perfect example of just how much of a complete psycho Popee really is. However, the theme of Ghost goes well in the next episode on this countdown, being number 6. At number 6, we have the episode Ghost. In this episode, Pappy, Popee, and Kedamono practice a barrel trick. However, after an accident, Kedamono winds up killing Popee. Pappy and Kedamono give him a pretty crappy burial, and Kedamono tries dealing with his grief by watching his favorite TV show, which is just two alien women in bikinis dancing. Really, that's all the show is. But getting on with the story, Kedamono starts noticing some strange things going on around him, eventually figuring out that he's being haunted by Popee, who wants to get revenge on Kedamono for killing him. However, Pappy tries stopping him by bringing Popee back to life. Though that doesn't stop Popee's rage, so after some thinking, Popee decides to kill Kedamono and himself and haunt Popee. Number 5. Alright, now we're really heading into some strange territory with the episode Great Magic. This episode starts off with Popee practicing a saw trick on Kedomino. However, Popee then stops him before he messes up and decides to show them a real saw trick by sawing himself in half in front of them. However, as it turns out, he's okay. Intrigued, Popee tries learning the trick, but then he messes up in his first try and then throws a chainsaw at Popee's face and then buries him. Only somehow Popee managed to switch places with Kedomino, leaving him buried underground. Popee tries various ways in killing Popee, but everything winds up with poor Kedomino getting hurt. However, Popee eventually finds out the truth behind Popee's trick, and once exposed, he winds up cutting Popee piece by piece. Or so he thinks, as Popee's face starts appearing on everything Popee sees, causing him to go even more insane. Things further escalate when he sees his own reflection, which morphs into Popee, causing Popee to saw himself in half. But as it turns out, Popee winds up learning the trick, somehow, at the cost of practically killing everyone at the circus, or at least we think he's learned the trick, as by the end of the episode, he splits in half. Number 4. In this episode, Popee tries out sword swallowing. However, after practicing on a sword that was way too big for him, he winds up impaling himself, with the sword even going through his ass. Popee then begs Kedomino to save him, which he tries using a truck and rope to remove the sword. However, that doesn't go so well as he starts bashing Popee against all the walls, which uncharacteristically gets a laugh out of Kedomino, all while Popee is flailing around for dear life. Then again, after all the pain this bastard has caused him, I don't see why not. Eventually the truck crashes and Popee breaks free, going after Kedomino with pure bloodlust. And oh god, Popee's bloody face is just pure nightmare fuel. However, what happens next, well, I'll just have to show you guys because words just cannot express the what the fuckery. Number 3. Continuing the trend of swallowing, let's head off to the episode Sleep. In this episode, Popee is trying to practice some act and trying to be like a robot, but fails because he keeps blinking. So what Popee decides is the best solution is to rip off his fucking eyelids. Of course, by not having any eyelids, Popee can't sleep, making him very restless and irritated, or at least more so than usual. Kedomino tries helping Popee go to sleep with a music box, but Popee comes in with some more milk. And oh god, the way he comes in is just so weird. Popee throws away Popee's milk, which for some reason really pisses him off and he practically goes on fire. However, Kedomino calms him down with his music box, which somehow makes Popee do some weird milk dance. However, Popee ignores the milk dance, which pisses off Popee once again, as he finally figures out a way to get Popee back to sleep, which is by eating him. What the fuck? But no time for questioning, as we still have 2 more episodes left. Number 2. At number 2 on this countdown, we have Hypnotism, which may be just the most surreal episode of the series. This episode starts off with Popee hypnotizing many of the circus folk into thinking they're birds. Not wanting to be hypnotized, Popee has a hypno battle with Popee, and they basically keep hypnotizing each other into becoming certain animals. However, when they eventually both wind up hypnotizing each other to become worms, the others who were hypnotized into thinking they were birds come down and start pecking at Popee until he's nothing but bones. Scared for his life, Popee then hypnotizes everyone else into thinking that they're dead. Popee laughs menacingly, going around and kicking the skeletons of his once so-called friends, thinking that he's the last one standing. However, Pappy once again gets the last laugh as he hypnotizes Popee into thinking that he's him and eventually takes over his body. Well, that was definitely weird as hell. There is still one more episode on this countdown, but before that, let's head on to some honorable mentions. First off, we have the episode Dream, which has Popee and the others having strange dreams as they sleep through a rainstorm, only to figure out in the end that they are corpses who drowned during the storm, leaving what is probably the most horrifying ending of the entire series. Then we have Dark Side, which has everyone exploring a dark field that has taken over half the circus. What really makes this episode stand out is what Popee does when he goes into the dark side. This is made even worse when it seems like he's really pissed that they dragged him out. Oh Popee, you sick bastard. Finally, on the honorable mentions, we have the episode My Car, which has Popee stealing Pappy's car, which causes a whole bunch of insane problems. Cars are stolen, heads are chopped off, things crashed, and everyone dies in the end. Just another day for Popee and the gang. And finally, let's get to number 1. At number 1, we have the first episode I've ever watched for this series, being Gunman. This episode starts off with Kenemono drinking tea in the afternoon, depressed, and eventually going hysterical after looking at the corpse of Popee laying on the ground. We then head into a flashback of the events that happened earlier that day. Popee and Kenemono were having some sharpshooting practice when Kenemono accidentally blasts off one of Popee's ears. Pissed, Popee decides to practice his next shot at a Kenemono doll, which of course Kenemono doesn't like. He tries stopping Popee, which causes him to fire, with a bullet bouncing off various objects before heading towards them. The two try hiding behind each other to take the bullet, and well, what happens next is just one of the many reasons as to why this episode's number 1 on this list. Knowing that the bullet he just swallowed came straight from Kenemono's ass, Popee once again is pissed and wants to kill him, and turns his rifle somehow into a machine gun with another face that is pure nightmare fuel. Kenemono deflects one of the various bullets with a frying pan, and this episode then turns into a deadly game of tennis between the two. Eventually the two actually start having fun playing with each other, but of course they are playing with a bullet, which eventually goes through Popee's head. While this episode might not seem as crazy as some of the others below it, but once again this is my list, and this was the first episode I've ever seen for this series, so it really does stick to me. And with that, I can safely say I am done with Popee the Performer, and oh boy, what a crazy little series this was. However, there's plenty more where that came from, as next time on WTFtober we'll be taking a look at the trippy short movie, Cat Soup.